In this list we have air, as in airborne, can, prairie, affair, despair. You've learnt this before, these are just harder words. Then we've got the or sound with O-A-R in horde, horse, course. And then we've got the hard th sound, as in seethe, wreath. So let's go back and have a look at any other things we can see. In airborne we've got an OR as well, and don't forget that E on the end. Can, we know we use a C before an A for the k sound. Prairie, we're actually using the IE on the end of there, which is unusual. Affair, we know this is a short at sound because we've got a double F after it. Despair, you've got just prefix on there. Horse, now horse and course, you've got the SE on the end. Horse, horse. And seethe, you've got a long E sound here. Wreath, you've got a long E sound here. And you've also got a silent W on the start of wreath. Don't forget that E on the end to make make its hard sound. Okay, let's go through and have a look at what these words mean. We've got airborne, which means something floating around in the air. A cairn is a mound of stones as a memorial or as a landmark. Prairie is a large grassy flat area, often used for grazing. A fair is an event or a sequence of events that is of a concern to someone. Despair is without hope. When you hoard, you keep everything. You keep things that you probably don't really need. Hoarse is when you are hoarse, you lose your voice, your throat is inflamed and you can't, your voice box is affected, so you're speaking very quietly. Coarse means something, a rough material. Seethe means to be angry, and wreath is flowers in a ring or in a circular display. Okay, let's go back and read the words, sound the words 3 times or syllabify them. So airborne will be syllabified. Spell them 3 times, write them 3 times and check. We're only going to write it once, so we're going to go airborne and we're going to split it. So air and born are separated. Airborne, airborne, A-I-R-B-O-R-N-E, 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 and you write it 3 times. You're going to do the rest of this on your own. Do practice your running writing if you can on that page. In this list we're revising A-I-R, making the sound air as in hair. So we've got airborne, cairn, prairie, affair and despair. Then we're also revising the less common version of the or sound with O-A-R. There are not many words with O-A-R in them for the or sound, and we've got hoard, horse and course here. Then in these words, seethe and wreath, we've got the TH followed by an E, making the hard sound there. Now down here you have to write the list word next to its meaning and identify it either as a verb, a noun or an adjective in relation to the meaning that we've given you here. So a grassy plateau, you've got to find which word would best fit there and then decide if it's a verb, a noun or an adjective. So you know a verb is an action word, something you can do. A noun is a noun of person, place, thing or idea or thought, and an adjective describes the noun, the subject or the object of the sentence. So you can write those terms here, whichever one fits the definition that you've written the word for. Okay, down here we've got some homophones. So these words sound the same but they're spelt differently. So we've got horse and horse, course and course, and a fair and affair. So you can work out within your groups what each one means and then write one sentence containing both versions of that word. Now down here we have find 3 list words that match these antonyms or synonyms. So we've given you 3 words, hope, joy and happiness. You've got to find a word that may mean the same as, or it might mean the opposite to one of these. So you've got to write the list word here and then identify if it's the antonym or the synonym to these sample words given here. Okay, in these words we're looking at air, we spell A-I-R, as in airborne, cairn, prairie, affair and despair, and it's the air as in hair. We've got another or sound, O-A-R, and these are some extra words with that in it, hoard, horse and course. You've already learned or, saw, raw, so that's a common word with the or sound in, raw. And here we've got the hard sound in seethe, wreath. It's similar to what we have in breathe. So you can highlight those sounds in those words and then cover them before you write them. Now down here you have to write these three verbs in a sentence, and you're going to need to use an auxiliary verb before each of them to get them into their correct tense, to write the sentence in the correct tense. So here, fill the gap with the correct plural form. Now this is a bit of a proofreading exercise. If you have a look at the word in its base form up here, and then you know the rules for changing a word into its plural form. So highlight which one is correct and then write it on the line. They shouldn't be too hard for you. We've covered all of those rules. Now here you have to find the adjective from the list words that best describes these nouns. So you're going to find 4 words here that are the adjectives that will go with these nouns. So you know an adjective describes a noun, which is a subject or an object. Okay, change these adjectives into adverbs and use them in a sentence. Now we know that quite frequently when we add ly to the end of a word, it forms an adverb. So if you're wanting to change horse from an adjective into an adverb, you're just going to add the ly, and then we ask you to write it in a short sentence there. It would have to be a simple sentence because you haven't got much room. It's just really to show that you know the meaning of them and the use of them as an adverb. Change this verb into an adverb and use it in a sentence. So not only can we change adjectives into adverbs, we can also change a verb into an adverb, and once again we simply need to add the ly on the end of it. So write the word and then write the sentence. Now down the bottom, we haven't done alphabetical order for a while and we've thrown it in here. Be careful of when you're doing it that if you have 2 words that start with the same letter, you know that you must look at the next letter in each word and work it out from there. Now, and if the next letter is the same, then you must look at the 3rd letter in each word to work out where what the order would be. Right, today we're looking at parts of speech. So these words could be both nouns and verbs, and we're going to use them to finish the sentences. So here you're using a noun and a verb, here you're using 2 verbs, and here you're using 2 nouns. So just be careful when you're doing the verbs that you have them in the correct tense, which means you may have to add s, ed or ing to say whether it's present tense, past tense or future tense. And down here you have to be careful with the nouns whether they need to be singular or in their plural form. Now if we go back to the list of words that we've got, we've put some tricky words in just to test if you know these rules. So you know that if you have a word ending in e goes away when ing comes to stay. If the word ends in an e and you want to add ed to it, you don't have to add another e because the e is already there, you just add the d. The thing with these words that end with y is if there is a consonant before the y, you're going to change that y to an I before you add es or ed. Whereas when you're adding the ing to these words that have a consonant y, you're not going to change the y to an I because you'd never have double I in an English word. That's a very common rule. So just be careful, think about their use as both a noun, you could discuss that in your group, and the word as a verb, and then use them appropriately in their correct form in each of those sentences.